one person. Hello, whoever you are. Two people, hello. 3 people, wow. So this is 3 people on now, a whole 3 of you. What to say? So if you've seen the title of the live stream, you will have seen as now 1 person. So what happens when I speak? Anyway, I'm just going to carry on. Why not? We can go over this. 3 people again. Okay. So what the live stream about today is not necessarily going to be any configuration stuff, neither OpenBSD nor Linux. However, really it's just to set the scene of something I'm working on, maybe projects I'm going to do in the near future. Wow, down to 1 again. Yeah, so projects I'm going to do in the future. And as per the title, one of those projects which I've already started is Librebooted X60 Thinkpad 32-bit. So let's have a little look. You can have a little look. So they've even got the old IBM, Thinkpad, whatever there. And so this is Hi Ninevik. So although this seems maybe like antiquated or from another era, is this pre-record live or a live? This is live. Just got stream in my recommendations. Great. So anyway, yeah, it's live. So this ThinkPad X60 is 32-bit, right? And you're probably thinking, who's using 32-bit Linux anymore? Well, you're right in thinking that, but one of the things I'm trying to do is look at 32-bit computing again, because from a long time ago, for a long time, I was still doing 32-bit computing. And if you've looked at the recent situation with, say, Libreboot, and I'm not sure about Coreboot, but Libreboot, the X series ThinkPads have really not been, or they've not been able to Libreboot them for, well, since the X230. So we're going back, you know, nearly 15 years now, maybe less, 13 years. And I'm going to go, or I have gone back to the first Librebooted ThinkPad, which was, I believe, the X60, 32-bit. Well, doesn't, I think 32 or 64. You can get X60s in 64-bit. Now, the other interesting thing, like Libreboot, 32-bit Linux. Now, 32-bit Linux is probably still in use in a lot of places, like legacy machines that are just doing something specific, but they're not really in use anymore. And certainly not in the smaller desktop sense. But there are just a handful of distributions that do have 32-bit Linux distributions. And which makes this all the more novel is this is going to be 32-bit on a 32-bit Linux on a Libreboot, and therefore it's going to be about 32-bit Linux that's completely free software. Okay, now there aren't many options. There's effectively 3 main options. Now I know somebody's going to say Void Linux or QO4S or something, and there's another one, another sort of obscure one. It's probably like, was it Puppy Linux and maybe even Tiny Core Linux, still 32-bit. However, there's really only 2. I'd probably exaggerate, but let's just say there's 2 free software distributions that are still 32-bit that are being supported properly, I would say. The first one being the most obvious one, Debian, and the second one being something called Hyperbola. Hyperbola, I'm not sure how you say it. And if you've ever heard of Hyperbola, it's a pretty strange beast. There is Parabola. Sorry, free software-wise, there is Parabola. Now, I did run Parabola in a virtual machine, and unfortunately, the PGP keys weren't up to date, so you couldn't authenticate any of your installs. So now my feeling on that is that's probably because Parabola is bleeding edge. Now, Parabola, I think, has some package issues on 64-bit, and that's going to be your biggest supported Parabola. But also, Parabola is not going to have as many developers as, say, as Arch or Artix or whatever. So these things are going to happen, and the 32-bit version is going to be even less supported, particularly up to date. And what's interesting with the 32-bit, let's say, is if you go to Hyperbola, it's basically an LTS of Arch Linux, except it's also doing some weird stuff with OpenBSD, and I'm not going to necessarily cover that in this stream because I want to cover that properly. And obviously, when I do like an live install on a virtual machine, because I'll be doing 2 installs. I'll be doing the manual, the official install, let's say, and then I'll be doing like an unofficial encrypted type one. So if you're doing like a free software, this is again just good practice, and it's really good practice. It's like the standard now, even in Microsoft. So so that it's quite a lot going on there. So again, if you look at Hyperbola, maybe I'll bring it up on the screen. It's doing some weird stuff with OpenBSD, and I haven't quite delved into all the licensing things. There's quite a lot to cover, but just have a look at it yourself. But it's really the only Linux 32-bit distribution, I would say, that's obviously free software, really the only other one being Parabola probably, that is stable. And in 32-bit, if you're running a desktop, you want stability, right? Because you're just not going to have the number of developers. And this is also sort of where I want to get involved with maybe maintaining certain packages in 32-bit. So in a minute, we'll look at the Librebooted Thinkpad. I'm just going to read some comments. Yep, most budget Wi-Fi routers run 32-bit MIPS Linux. Yeah, makes sense. I like Alpine and Debian. Yeah, I guess Alpine probably still do 32-bit. I don't know. Elmarine, hello, my friend. Could you tell me how to Libreboot my Lenovo X60? Well, yeah, best is to go to the Libreboot website. An interesting thing, which brings me up to the X60, was really the only one you could install or flash Libreboot without opening up the computer. Now, I think their latest X60 advice is opening it up and doing it that method, I think. Well, they've got a new way there, because you've got the flash ROM and the flash prog, I think, way of doing the flash. Anyway, it's changed. I'm not the Libreboot expert, of course. Look at their documentation, but this is using an older one that's just flashed from the computer. I haven't opened anything up. So yeah, look at their documentation. You're going to need certain equipment, either a Raspberry Pi type thing, or is it ESP? I can't remember what they're called. It's ESP32 chip or something, and cables and whatever. Again, I've not done those type of things. Maybe I will one day, but you really need to have time, patience, and real understanding of what you're doing. I don't think it's that difficult. My understanding is it's not the most difficult thing, but if you don't know what you're doing, probably best. Well, I guess as long as you've got a backup of your BIOS, whatever. Doesn't Stallman use Triskel on his X200? Yeah, probably. I don't even, who knows what he uses now? Maybe I should ask him. I don't know. I'm going to use git clone LMBLK and run. Just choose one, flash it, and I recommend getting one of the CBOS core boot or grab core boot. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's good advice to do your X220, but you know, again, just look up the documentation. Folks, survive for old hardware, try NetBSD. Yeah, NetBSD is very lightweight, right? The files obviously represent some compiled file and tiny differences, but how many that can at least boot? Alpine supports 32-bit for the sake of embedded hardware, and it's pretty nice. Runs snappy on my Pentium 3 900 megahertz machine. Wow. It's like pre-2000s, that. Feels, maybe not. Maybe on. What do you use to shave? Well, at the moment, a Bic razor. I do have those like weird 5 blade things, which seems excessive, but I need to replace or get replaceable heads for that. I ran out. Wow, 10 people. Okay, so I feel I've talked a lot and kind of waffled on, but whatever. You guys are probably more in the know than me about Linux and BSD from the sound of it. You're the ones that tend to be schooling me, so whatever. Let's have a look at the X60. Also, I've got the what do you call it? I can't even think of the words. The thing it sits on. Why can't I think? What is this? The Ultra Base. Now, I don't really do desktop computing in the sense of like a proper desktop, so I don't really need an Ultra Base for, you know, plugging in devices for. And to be honest, I don't even know how half this stuff works. Oh, it's quite sturdily built though. Close. Yeah. There you go. There's the Ultra Base for the X60 / X6. Don't even know what a ThinkPad X6 is, whatever. So yeah, not terribly excited. I'm not fussed. I mean, some people like their Ultra Bases. I don't really need it. So anyway, here is the kind of dusty X60. It's seen some use, but on the outside, it's not too bad a condition. I mean, these things should be used really. You know, shouldn't be precious about their design. And I have to say, this thing does feel really solid, even more so than like the X201 and probably, you know, even the better ThinkPads of the X series. Now this thing has, I think it's a WLAN on the end, which is sort of, I don't even know. I haven't even really looked this up. It's like a weird thing. Oh yeah, another thing is I've replaced, because of course being free software, I've replaced the Wi-Fi card with an ATHK9 or whatever. I can't remember the model. I got it off eBay. I can't even remember. It was a second-hand one. Works perfectly. It's free software. I'll probably put it in the description sometime after this stream's gone out. There you go, your classic IBM logo. Wow, computer, exciting. There you go, some USB slots. There's even a FireWire thing. I don't even know. I think that's a 4-cell battery, so it's reasonable. Yeah, but this thing feels like really well made. Anyway, so I'm going to boot it up. You'll be able to see booting up the Libreboot screen in a second. There you go, Libreboot, and you'll be able to see that's Hyperbola. So, and this as well is running SSD, which I'll be honest, you don't really see too many SSDs on 32-bit machines. Really, SSDs became mainstay of 64 bits, but this has an SSD, which makes it run pretty fast. Okay, so I'm going to log in. I'm going to log in and show you. So this has got Hyperbola 32-bit. And again, I'm not going to go too much into Hyperbola, but what I will say is there are some quirks where this has been rebooted. The machine basically needs power top running. Well, I say it needs power top, so you get this sort of whining noise thing, and power top solves that. And power top is like an Intel utility that sorts power management on your system. One side effect of the Libreboot is that it's affected the power management. So it creates a sort of whine. Also, I think it's affected the audio. So Hyperbola audio stack is ALSA and SNDIO, which again, I'm not going to go into too much here, but I thought it was me. I thought it was skill issues, but I technically get sound, but it's an issue with power top affecting the audio device. Anyway, so let's log into this. There you go, OpenRC. So Hyperbola uses OpenRC in its system. You don't get a choice. They don't like systemd. I mean, I don't care about that. Our systemd is fine. OpenRC is fine. I have no problem with OpenRC. I like run it because it's fast, but this is OpenRC or nothing, basically. So that's fine. OpenRC is all right. Again, obviously, on any live stream I do, I will be doing the whole thing, showing you how to set it up. Okay, I'm going to actually log in, so I'm not logged into this. So, yeah, this is how exciting it is. A black screen with Hyperbola, whatever. Actually, I'm gonna actually go into the graphical environment here, and let's do uname-r. So here you go. This is what it's running. 5.10, 191 GNU 1 LTS. So this is the Libre kernel running 5.10. So yes, it's an LTS kernel, a 32-bit LTS kernel. And you might have noticed, of course, I'm running i3 just because, again, I wanted to set something up. It's 32-bit i3 or whatever. It runs fine. It runs just like the other. You know, as you can see, I've got loads of, you know. It's good. It works. So, what else? What else to say about it? So I guess the cliche thing is, you know, the web browser, right? So now this uses an interesting one. This is called, now Iceweasel is a classic sort of free software web browser, which is Mozilla's web browser. Oh no, now this is not Mozilla's, because this is running Chromium. Okay, believe it or not, this is a Chromium-based browser. I thought Iceweasel was Mozilla, but whatever. This is a Chromium-based browser called Iceweasel-UXP, and it's going to load it up. I will show you. So there you go. DRM-free, whatever. So again, not terribly exciting, but what's interesting about it is they are very particular, of course, being free software, about what you have installed. So now there's basically only a handful of add-ons they let you install. One of them is a YouTube related one, which I won't show because I do not want to strike on my channel. So I know YouTube are funny about these things. But have a look. So you have very particular number of add-ons, not many. It's very tightly controlled, and you don't install it from like the Mozilla store or the Chrome store. You install it from I think it's like it literally downloads a particular file. I can't remember the format. It's not particularly interesting. Let's have a look at the format. Add-ons. Get add-ons. Don't find it. More. Search add-ons. Anyway, look up the add-ons. It's a very particular type. It's very tightly controlled. You can't just I say you can't. You can probably get around these things, but they're there. The whole point of this is you are completely free software license. This is obviously very deliberate. Okay, but it works like a normal what's the word? Works like a normal web browser. Obviously, certain things are not going to, you know, maybe work as you would like, but whatever. Let me put it this way. If you're using it as a traditional browser, let's say, where you want to do everything, you want to go to all your usual sites, it's very difficult to control the internet. So, you know, there's all these mitigations in place. Let's see for a second, see if I can find. As I say that, it's been a bit funny about. See, it's even now, it's been a bit funny. So, okay, let's go into settings. Try again. So there you go. There's, for example, there's the BBC. How exciting. So loading up a normal web page is fine. Now it will play video. It's not to say it won't play video. For example, so think of JavaScript being blocked on most things. There are certain websites that are, let's say, DRM free. It will probably play the video. Now be aware, again, this is not going to be a massively updated repository. And obviously a browser gets updated regularly, takes a huge lot of development. This is not going to have a huge amount of development. Well, I'm being presumptuous. Let me be honest about this. I'm being presumptuous, but the premise is you're not going to get the kind of development on, say, Iceweasel, on Hyperbola, as you are on Mozilla themselves for Firefox and, I don't know, say the Brave browser or something like that. But that's fine because this is doing a very specific thing. So there we go. That's the browser. Now, you might be wondering, again, what sort of, if I go on their website, there you go, there's their website. It's basically Arch Linux with some BSD things. So they try and reduce user privileges, for example. So if you're a user, certain directories are not going to touch the internet. They're not going to have certain privileges for the system. Again, this is just very, it's not necessarily covering too much. I'm just giving you a very brief look, an overview, and just making some assumptions again, because I need to look into this. You know, not long ago I was doing the OpenBSD install and whatever. So what else say? So if you're thinking like systemd, this is obviously RC, OpenRC, and with OpenRC, it's a service, you know, start your init system for, you know, internet and music or audio and all this kind of thing. So this is using WA supplicant. So you're probably familiar with Network Manager. This is using WA supplicant, which is fine. Again, I'm not fussed about these things. Again, they don't have Network Manager. And it's interesting, they don't use XOR, or they traditionally use Zenokara, which again is like BSD. So again, they're doing some weird hybrid stuff with Linux BSD. So again, there you go. This is all very, very basically I'm speaking from a position of ignorance here, but I'm just whatever. I will be covering this stuff in the future. Let's have a little look at the comments. I have a similar dock station, but I want to buy a version with extra USB 3 port because I have too much info on external hard disk drives. How made you want to learn Linux? I've sort of covered this in a video before. Have a look at my old videos, but it's basically I wanted to do something very specific, which is write screenplays, and I wanted to be able to write them my way, as in I want to have full control over basically the software I was using. And what happened was I was using a piece of software that how to explain it? I was using a piece of software that had issues with Python. From Python 2 to Python 3, okay? And it sort of took me on this journey of like, okay, if I can't use this software, what else can I use? And then I realized, you know, I wanted more sort of configuration. I wanted to have less distractions. And that sort of led me to the journey of learning Linux so I could configure screenwriting software and in the end Vim. Yeah, so have a look at my video on screenwriting. I sort of covered this before. I feel I'm just going to waffle on here, but that's kind of it. And I'm going to try and install Linux GNOME on my old laptop. Okay, fair enough. Do you have any proprietary code on that machine? No. So again, this is Hyperbola. Well, I'll show you. So if I go, was it ls mod, is it? Or lspio? Let's go history. One second, let me just. Put history into less. I don't think I'll be able to find this. lspci, and that's it, lspci. Okay, here you go. So I've just run the command lspci. So lspci shows you your devices, I believe. And if you look, see what I'll do. Grep for, here we go, aphoros. Just clear that. Okay, so if you look here, so I've grepped for on lspci, whatever it is, I never remember names. Qualcomm aphoros AR9285. What do I read now? Wireless adapter. So that is completely free software Wi-Fi adapter. Now, if I didn't have that, Hyperbola would not be able to run the default Intel chip because that's proprietary, right? And of course, I wouldn't be able to run that chip unless I Librebooted the Thinkpad, because Intel have was it a whitelist or a blacklist or whatever on non-Intel Wi-Fi chips. What I will say is an interesting thing about this, and I'm just doing something very specific here. So I'm not saying what I'm doing is advisable, but I mentioned this before. I spoke to a Libreboot developer a couple of years ago who were very critical of Hyperbola back then. Now, that was before Hyperbola was sort of released with this new Linux / OpenBSD type complete setup, and I imagine they may be still more critical, but they said they didn't recommend using a free software Wi-Fi chip because the Wi-Fi software is usually hard-coded. Now, this one might be different. I think this might be hard-coded. I don't know. But they'd suggest us using the Intel one because it gets updates, even though it's proprietary. But of course, you wouldn't be able to use a free software distribution with that chip. So you know, make of it what you will. This is just, again, spice of life. And, you know, again, if you go down this route, you've got to be kind of absolute about it. So I hope that answers that. 32-bit, oh my goodness. There's a tool called Virtual RMS. You can use it to show if you have any non-free blobs. Yeah, so I've used that, as you've probably seen on, I don't know, I probably did a video. I don't know if I did a video on it. But yes, if you have that piece of software, you run it, it will tell you what free software. Now, I don't even know if this is on here. VRMS. No, it's not. Virtual. No, it's not. It's not on the repository, but then it's not going to be, because by definition, everything's free software anyway. Iron Fist. Hello, Iron Fist. Yeah, I haven't done a good job of explaining, but hey, I'm just new to using Hyperbola, Libreboot, and whatever on a 32-bit X60. So there you go. Yeah, I'm just trying to think. I'm sure there's other stuff I need to explain. I mean, I haven't really done a good job of explaining, but I mean, you know, again, I'm just sort of new to this free software. I've never gone this length for free software, but I feel it's sort of, you know, there's that Luke Smith video where he sort of mentioned it, and also because it's sort of, I feel like free software should be in the news again because of certain things. So we had a scandal in the United Kingdom where there's something called the Horizon scandal. Look it up. I'm not going to go into it too much, but it was a huge scandal. And the lessons people didn't take from it, which was really that proprietary software, however you measure it really, but proprietary software, you know, ruined people's lives and effectively killed people. Anyway, look it up. And I feel it's sort of relevant to now, because if you go this route, full software, free software to the max, where you know, there is no ambiguity about it, really. You're never going to have that situation. And if you look at Linux, particularly today, Linux is basically anything you want it to be. You can have it almost all proprietary. You can have it completely free software. You can have, you know, all kinds of services on the internet that are not free and so forth. But really, the free software side has, you know, started to come down in importance, and that might be for a good reason. I don't doubt that it's good for Linux's popularity, but the general thing is that more and more, particularly desktop users, are using more and more proprietary devices. Look at the state of Intel, or look at the state of, say, modern day ThinkPads with, you know, all this crazy stuff because of Microsoft TPM chips and UEFI, you know, Intel ME and all this kind of stuff. I mean, it's just become, you know, just like a spaghetti of, you know, different devices, all proprietary, all who knows doing what. And in light of, look up the Horizon scandal. I tell you what, that's really what I should have made this stream about. This is really about, in light of the recent Horizon scandal, you know, making a statement, so to speak, you're doing your bit. And I want to look at, say, putting some time into supporting 32-bit Hyperbola, as crazy as that sounds, on a Libreboot ThinkPad. Yeah, I have thought about doing a video on the Horizon scandal, but maybe I should do it in context of this. You know what? That's a good idea, Folk Survival. It's a good idea. Thank you. It's not a bad idea. I think I will do that. I'll give you credit for that. Ahmed Nasser, some hardware is usually more problematic in this regard, especially Wi-Fi cards, Bluetooth, GPUs, printers, maybe sound cards sometimes as well. Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, it's just become, I guess having commercial enterprises or commercial enterprises, you know, dominated by big industry, which also involves, you know, a lot of proprietary licenses, let's say. Is that the right word, license? Again, I'm really not the person. Probably the best thing to do is look up Brady Robertson, look at all of his videos on these things. I mean, he's done a lot of research. I'm just that cliche normal guy just trying to feel my way through this and maybe come out the other side with, you know, a 32-bit Librebooted Thinkpad running Hyperbola Linux and muddling my way through it. Hey, that's just how it is sometimes. You know, sometimes I have clarity on things, sometimes I don't, but sometimes you just got to get dirty, get your hands messy, and get stuck in, and that's really, really it. Plus, it's a live stream, but I don't feel particularly coherent. Are you interested in running an Owncast instance to stream on it? Oh, I don't know. Is that? Never heard of Owncast. 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 There you go. And here's some interesting things. So this is using Disroot search. I don't even know. I've never even heard of Disroot. I'm guessing this is a free software type search engine. I don't even know. It's got a few on here. Some I can't mention because YouTube will. But yeah, so it's come up all right though. It's found out what that is. Owncast is an open source software self-hosting streaming service. Let's see if I can zoom in. There you go. Look, you can zoom in on the web browser. That's how good Hyperbola is, you know, amazing. So there you go. Will I? No. Okay. Case in point, Ahmed. You have a great suggestion there, but look at the license. What's the problem? And what other problems might there be? Remember, this is free software. MIT. Can't use MIT with free software. And it's running JavaScript. I mean, JavaScript depends, doesn't it? Depends what JavaScript's running on it, I guess. I guess if it's MIT, you should be able to see all the code. I don't know. I'm not a developer. I'm just a regular guy. Yeah, so MIT license. I can't spell license. MIT. Oh, can you use MIT? I thought there was a thing. Sorry. Let's have a look. I thought you couldn't. Why did I think? I thought it was all like almost GPL v3 or nothing. Oh yeah, my bad. My bad. See, this is why I'm definitely not an expert or semi-competent. If you've seen my videos, you know I'm just sort of muddling through. I will go, you know, into depth on certain things, but I do presume Yes, so sorry, just to confirm to everyone, MIT is fine. It's a free software compatible license. My bad. So I apologize, Ahmed. You're right. You're right in your position about FOSS. I think you're doing the world better having no computer and no software at all, being forced into proprietary ecosystems. Well, this is the thing. There is a caveat to this. When I'm saying about this as a project, I'm really trying to do it as a, you know, as an example to be involved in it. But again, I've mentioned this before, you know, our hands are tied in the real world. I'm afraid to say, you're going to have to still use non-free software, even if it's not proprietary, and you can only do your best. This is really a project to focus and learn and to, you know, again, evolve closer to that ideal, a bit like Luke Smith mentioned, rather than just dismissing the Free Software Foundation as unimportant now, dismissed them as pointless. I think, you know, I should have known better recently with the Horizon scandal, you know, to look at this properly and to lead by some sort of example. It might not be a perfect example, and I'm not going to be, let me put it this way, I'm not going to be a hypocrite and tell people it's this or nothing, but I want to, again, demonstrate this way as a niche, 32, or let's say the 32-bit niche as well. So who knows? Maybe one day we'll all be just using X60 Librebooted Thinkpads running Hyperbola. Probably not, but the FSF website has a list of licenses and which of them are free and which aren't. Yeah, I'll get that link. Software. So I'm not going to be on for too much longer. I just wanted to give you sort of heads up of what to expect. What to expect in the near future, video wise. This Hyperbola is still Linux, okay? Make no mistake about that. If you see my OpenBSD video streams and all this, this is still very much rooted in Linux. It's still using Pacman because it's based off Arch. But there's just certain things they've incorporated. I know they're trying to incorporate certain licenses, but it's still very much Linux. This is still more familiar than, let's say, OpenBSD, which isn't really too difficult to use. Although they do here use Zenakara, which I think is fine. It seems to be working great. Have you thought about buying your own router and installing an OS like OpenWRT? I haven't. I've seen videos on it, like Mental Outlaw, whatever his name is. He's done good videos on it. I'm not sure how it is affected by the internet provider you use. I don't know if you literally have to use their router. I'm quite ignorant on this. So that's the thing, you know, certain people like Mental Outlaw, I think he was in, he worked in cybersecurity, didn't he? So he actually does understand networking very well. My networking is using tools, combining them together and having, you know, a basic understanding of how they work. I wouldn't necessarily know more than. Same with routers. But it's a good point. Some point I'll have to look into. Yeah, that's right. He said he was a network admin. I'm sure even recently he mentioned that. How are we doing for time? Okay, I'll be on for another 10 minutes. So if you've got any questions, you want to ask something or anything, PowerCert is an amazing channel for content about networking. I learned a lot from him. Awesome guy. Thank you very much, Ahmed. I will look that up. I mean, don't laugh, but I kind of learned a reasonable amount from, is it Network Chuck? Now I know his channel. I don't want to sound bad. Some of his videos weren't too bad, I think, but probably Mental Outlaw is good. But yeah, that I'll look at PowerCert. Thank you. And yeah, I'm definitely coming from an ordinary desktop user perspective. That's the level of knowledge I really got. You know, again, I just sort of muddle my way. I think it's fun just getting your hands dirty and learning. Is, you know, it's a learning experience like anything else. But I must admit, I can't always speak with authority on a lot of subjects, as you probably can tell from my videos. But what I try and do is do things that maybe other people haven't done. That's why, like, I did the whole TTY SH thing, which I will be doing more on. Well, I haven't really done anything on it on the videos, but what I will be doing is in the near future, I will be sorting out the configuration on it. I have a different approach because I've sort of used it, but not advocate. I've used it, of course, but I've not advocated people use it for issues with the configuration. So I will be looking at that in the near future. So if anybody does want to have some sort of teletype terminal interface as a desktop environment, I don't want to say desktop environment, doesn't make any sense, but to, you know, to run their desktop, their daily desktop through a TTY, in theory, you can do it with caveats. So that's what TTY-SH is, like automation for that kind of thing. So I will be looking to do updates on that in the near future, and I'll do a video or probably a live stream and show you how to install it on a virtual, well, and you know, when I say install it, everybody knows how to use git clone and all this. So, but you know, I just running it and showing you it works or whatever. I don't know. I don't know if people ever will want to use it, but okay, another 5 minutes. I tried to watch Chris Occhipinti, but his content is all over the place, not organized at all. Okay, I mean, I know what you're saying, but to me, Chris Occhipinti, for somebody like myself, is sort of maybe not, what's the word? Okay, so I guess it depends what perspective you're looking at it. So if you want to learn Linux, Chris Occhipinti, if you go right to the back to the beginning and sort of, it's a lot of videos, but just, you know, work your way through them from the beginning, you can learn a lot about Linux. If you're somebody, you know, starting off, Chris Occhipinti's early videos, for example, are great for learning Linux. And shell scripting, bash scripting, all this kind of stuff is, you know, fundamentals of certain things. His channel is overall great for that. Now, obviously, you've got to remember he's been making videos for like 16 years now. He's got thousands of videos on there. And his later content, his current content is obviously sort of even more like niche. But yeah, I will always advocate Chris Occhipinti for somebody who wants to understand a lot about Linux. I know you use Artix, run it. Are you anti-systemd or just prefer not to use it? Okay, so try and put this into context. I'm not anti-systemd. I'm not necessarily pro-systemd. I know that's like a pathetic kind of thing to say. What I will say is it just works. Generally, it just works, okay? Now, I know the problem with, if there is a problem with systemd, is it's not one big binary, right? It's not actually one big binary. There's lots and lots and lots of binaries that do very specific things. Whereas, say, like here, okay, if I do, let's do RC status, okay. So if you look here, so that's run it, okay. OpenRC, you're probably familiar with it. Now, OpenRC is running all these system daemons and services. So you want WPA supplicants, so that's your wireless. Key maps is key maps, okay, for your keyboard. D8C PhD is your, networking for your IP or whatever. SND IOD is your audio for very specific, where it's an OpenBSD audio stack, let's say, or a simple audio stack for OpenBSD, but it's been incorporated by Hyperbola with ALSA. I've got some issues with it because of not being able to run PowerTop because it's not OpenBSD compatible. It's, again, Hyperbola is a strange hybrid that I need to get into. Anyway, the point is, OpenRC is pretty straightforward, okay? So it just runs your services. It's relatively fast. It's fine. Now, systemd is obviously trying to do all of this stuff itself. It's got its own, a lot of it's got its own modules, okay, that it's trying to do. Now, a lot of these modules don't actually ever get used by the normal user. A lot of modules were made for init system stuff with systemd that never get used, but of course it's all bundled together. It's not necessarily one big binary that some people presume it's many binaries. So there's just a lot of wastage, right? It's just a lot of stuff that, what's the point of having it there? And that's why, something like Run It, like Folk Survival said, is great because it's just really scripts. It's just scripts to start up your services. So Network Manager probably, or WPA Supplicant, or, the TTYs, let's say, simple as that. Among other things, whatever. But that being said, systemd does work. It just works. I have no problem. It's relatively simple to use. Would I prefer Run It or OpenRC? Yeah, of course I would. But I mean, I'm not going to get too hung up about it. That's not. I don't get too hung up about it. But one nice thing I will say, if I let's exit this. Now it might be running quite a lot now, but if I do pkill i3, right, if I run htop, and look at this, this is 32. This is 32-bit Linux. That's the desktop. It's in the TTY, but it's running on 40 megs. And there's just bash basically running. Although I don't know why htop's not showing other stuff, but that's the system running. 40 megs, an old Core 2 Duo. It's light. And here's the other thing with the Libre kernel, and 32-bit, the size of the kernel is 60 megs basically. That's half the size of your 64-bit Linux kernel with all those drivers and that. And it's nice little things. So again, this is properly free software. Anyway, we're going to leave it there. So Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for hearing me ramble on about this X60. I hope I kind of explained very badly, but explained the kind of direction I'm going in terms of some of the more recent videos and future videos I'm going to do. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going away. I'm neither going away from Linux, Artix, or Arch, or non-free software, so to speak, or general Linux computing at all. That's very much what I use as my mainstay. But I will be covering this kind of stuff and doing videos on it because I do feel it's a degree of importance. Anyway, read the last comments and then I'm going. In my opinion, the FOSS world is balanced by two forces: pragmatism and idealism. Yep, you're absolutely right. People like Linus Torvalds, people like Richard Stallman. If it weren't for the ideas, people like Richard Foss would have been. Yeah. It's hard to underestimate. Again, people take the mick out of or make fun of these things, but we shouldn't underestimate the importance. On the other hand, if it weren't for flexible programming like Linus Foss, so you always got to balance out of the world you live in, but you do need people like Richard. You do need that element to keep people in check or keep people to an ideal that they maybe can't live up to, but hopefully get as close to. Anyway, cheers, guys. Thanks for watching me ramble about stuff I don't completely understand, but you probably know better, as was demonstrated. And I'll leave it there. So see you guys later. Have a good rest of your day.